Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Governance and Operations Committee meeting of May 27th, 2024. Just as for your information, members of the public can be present in the council committee room during the meeting, but also please note that the webinar will be recorded and published to the city's YouTube site. Item number 1 is the adoption of the agenda, and the recommendation is before you. Can someone make that? Councillor Martin and Councillor Hanson. All those in favor? Thank you. Carried unanimously. And this afternoon we have a delegation. We have Jacqueline von Tonder from Metal Tech Alley, Battery Hub Feasibility Study and Execution Plan. So welcome this afternoon, and I'll let you take it from here.
Thank you. Do you have the slides?
I do not. I didn't realize I was putting the slides up. I put them in their agenda packages.
Oh, okay, so they do have them in front of them?
Yep.
Okay, so the first one is a nice picture of Pete Stamper. You can see it on there. Pete represented on May 7 in the House of Commons Standing Committee on International Trade as part of a panel of witnesses in view of its study Canadian businesses in supply chains and global markets. The reason why it's so important to recognize that and put it in here is, first of all, he talked about us, by that I mean the region and what we need, what we can do. The second of all is, all of this started last year when we invited Richard Cannings to this region, and we took him for a tour of the KC Recycling and Servo Solutions. And thereafter, Rebecca and I went to Ottawa and talked some more, and then they kept in touch, Richard and Pete, and it's because of that relationship that Pete was invited to go to Ottawa to present here. And it's all part of the battery up. On the first slide is just the heading, on the second slide, sorry. The third slide, I've basically done just the executive summary, a summary of the executive summary, okay? So it's what Midgard basically did. They engaged with local niche businesses in the West Kootenay region to understand the current strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats in the region. And what they found is there's an urgency. There's a strength, we have strengths, we have weaknesses, of course we do, opportunities and what the threats are. And I'll come back to all of that later. And then they've identified 3 opportunities: niche manufacturing, research laboratory, and circular economy, or the refurbishment one. And I will come back to all of that as I go on with the presentation. On the next slide 4, I've decided to include this in the presentation because, first of all, this was the basis of the study. It started with circular economy. What is circular economy? It's an economic system that is based on the reuse and regeneration of materials and products at end of life, with the aim of continuing production in an environmentally sustainable way by keeping minerals and materials in use for as long as possible. It's I did a course at Cambridge University last year about sustainability goals, and they explained it much easier. It's cradle to cradle and cradle to grave. You do not want stuff to go cradle to grave, you want it to go cradle to cradle, which spells it much better in this very long. One of the things that I asked Midgard Consulting to do is to give us a definition of a battery hub. The reason why is there is no definition of a battery hub. So we worked with the Battery Metals Association of Canada in developing this definition, which they have also now accepted as a definition of a battery hub. So a battery hub is a critical node within the battery value chain, consisting of multiple interconnected features of interconnected functions, and is geographically defined by physical infrastructure, which we have all here, proximity to metallurgical inputs, which we also have, and optimizes economic and environmental footprints. So those that is now a recognized definition of a battery. The next slide is the SWOT analysis. So in the SWOT analysis, we looked at the strengths that we have here. The current existing advantages, which all of you probably know exactly what they are without even looking at that. We have established industrial enterprises. I mean, that's what we're all made of, why we're here. We're still an industry-friendly town, and you don't get a lot of them in specifically BC anymore. So we are that, and we have a cooperative mindset. We have metallurgy and battery recycling expertise. We have access to clean power, and our proximity to the US border is very important. Weaknesses, isolated from major population centers, long distance from tidewater. And Dan Ashman has got a solution for that, but I'll need another hour to explain that. And we have mountainous region with border crossings, and we all know that winter driving with big trucks is challenging sometimes here. Restrictive regulatory framework. With that, it comes with, and you will know, the transportation of hazardous and dangerous goods and all of that, which we, here cannot really change, but we are working with province and federal government and see how that can be changed. And then, of course, we always have environmental concerns. We know that tech has come a long way in the past 40, 50 years. But there is always a concern for whatever industry you're in. If there is industry, there's environmental concerns. Opportunities, contemporary prioritization of recycling and critical metal supply chain. What that means is, because there's so many people that want EVs, there's so many batteries that needs to be built, there's not enough critical minerals to build that. What's your second option after extracting is recycling. So, and we are right in the middle of that. So I think in the near future, that is going to be really important when people want to move away from extracting raw materials and get their valuables from recycling facilities. And then information clearinghouse. Rebecca and I talked about this a lot. We were thinking that one of the opportunities is that there needs to be a place where people can go if they have questions about batteries and recycling. And we want this place to be it. And I'll come back to that later on, because it actually did happen. And then we have the West Kootenay industrial strength that we have here. Because of tech, we have a lot of support companies for tech that can also support other industrial companies. The threats is miscommunication or being defined by opponents as maybe this is not clean, this is dirty, this is not environmentally friendly. And in that sense, I have an answer for them if they want to bring it on. There is technological challenges, economic challenges, and geopolitics may trump economic logic. So that's the SWOT analysis that was done. And I think that they've captured everything that I initially thought, okay, I think this should be in here. And I think it's what I expected from the SWOT analysis. If we go to the next slide. So they looked at all of this, and then they decided what 3 initiatives they think can be beneficial for this region. So the 3 initiatives that was identified is the niche manufacturing, the research lab, and the circular economy part, which is electrode manufacturing. I will discuss each one of them now in more detail. I just want to get back to the approach for each initiative. What they've given me is a development phase and technical domain. So for each of those opportunities, they've given me a development phase, which is the conceptual phase, the pre-feasibility, feasibility, permitting and design, construction, operations. So I have all of that, and in the next slide, which is the mind map, which the writing is very small because I have a lot of information on there, and we actually printed off in the office, and it's this big, so that I can read it with my 50-year-old eyes. So what I want to do is I just want to explain the three initiatives that was identified. The first one is the niche battery manufacturing. So if you come back to that graphic that I made right at the beginning with the circle, which I've been carrying with me for a year, we decided that there can be battery manufacturing facilities here. And I said then, and I say that again, I don't think that we can do a $13 billion Volkswagen EV battery facility here, but there's many options on that. And one of them you'll see later on in the slides is a battery, it's part of battery manufacturing that's already come up in this region. But by this, I mean, you get the smaller boutique battery manufacturing. There's specifically one in Seattle that we looked at that can be duplicated here. And it doesn't have to be a full battery component. It doesn't have to be, it can be parts of a battery, or it can be batteries for storage, for solar panels or wind turbines. So that's one of the opportunities that we've seen, and we've identified that we think the region can do, and we can carry that here. The next one is the circular economy part, or the remanufacturing part. So what this means is it's basically battery refurbishment. So you have your electric vehicle with your battery that consists of 20 cells, and maybe 15 of them dies, but 5 of them are still good to use. So people will take those cells out of there, and they will make a backup battery for solar panels or wind turbines for that. Some people will put it back in an EV vehicle. Other people don't like to do that. They'd rather use it for backup storage for something else. So I see that as a good opportunity, and that can be scaled, like in very small or very big. You can do this battery remanufacturing where you reuse the batteries instead of taking it directly to recycling. The next one is a research lab. What we have identified through the feasibility study and execution plan is there's not a research lab which is directly focused on batteries. And Rebecca and I talk about it a lot. The evolution of the technology and the science behind batteries is just enormous. Nobody can keep up. If you look at Serba Solutions and they work on a battery now and they've just mastered it, the next one that they get in is totally different because there's already new technology that comes in. So we feel if we can establish a research lab for batteries in this region, we will be on the forefront of that technology. And the beauty of that is you're going to have the research here and you're going to have the recycling of it next door. So for the first time ever, the researchers are going to talk to the recyclers when they develop this battery, because at this stage, that doesn't happen. Nobody's doing it, and it's a big gap in the recycling process of the batteries. So that's the 3 opportunities that we've identified. And what our plan is next with this whole document is Rebecca is going to do economic forecasting for this document. So we are we expect that this, if all of it comes to fruition, it will make a huge economic impact for this region. It will take some of the pressure off DEC of being the sole big employer of this region, and we can kind of diversify that. And that was initially our whole plan, was that. So this economic modeling that Rebecca is trying to do, and she's already identified groups that she can work with in order to do that, will tell us if all of this goes hunky-dory and it's 100% work out, this is how many jobs we're gonna create, this is how many money is gonna come in capital expenses, all of that will come into the region. The other thing that we are gonna do next is, we are going to apply for grants for a huge marketing strategy for this, because we need to get it out there. You know, the usual newsletter, social media is not enough for this. This needs to be a national marketing campaign and even international. We'll focus on provincial and national first, and then from there on, we will do it international. And then, of course, we'll never stop talking about it. Talk. Everybody needs to talk. But what has happened in the meantime, after I did this, without us having a marketing campaign, I've sent the report to my friend from UBC, Dr. Jean Liu, which I've known for the past 5 years. He is a scientist and he does battery, he does a lot of work on the development of new batteries. He's also working with Phoenix Advanced Materials. And Dr. Liu is working with the Clean Tech Hub at Kelowna, at UBC in Kelowna, and he contacted the manager of business development for UBC and said, there's an opportunity, I want a battery hub, a research lab, which is just focused on batteries. I don't want to share it with the wood industry or the forestry industry like they do in Kelowna. So I've invited 3 people from UBC and they are coming on June 14, and Mayor will be there. Thank you for agreeing to attend that. So we have a group of people that's going to meet with them at our office on June 14 to see how we can do this, because they want to do it, we want to do it, we just need to pull all the people together. So Tech will be there and Troy will be there and Ali Grieg will be there and Steve, you know, there's a lot of people that I'm bringing into the room. We're trying to get CBT into the room as well for that meeting. Because it's gonna happen, it needs to happen, and they want it to happen, we want it to happen, and we have everything that they need to make it happen. We have Tech here, we have all the other things that they need, we have service solutions. So hopefully, when we're done with that meeting, we will know if we can maybe halfway tick off one of the boxes. And I understand that it will take a few years to get it off the ground, but at least, you know, the idea is there. It might happen. I've also been contacted by a lithium battery recycling company from Ontario, which they saw the press release through the Battery Metals Association of Canada, and they contacted me because they were thinking we need to expand out west, and then our press release popped up in their emails. So they will be coming for a visit in September, and then we will take them around. I will press on your button again then, if that works out, and then we will see, maybe we can get them to start a recycling facility here, and then we have 2 more boxes that we can take. One other thing that happened, it is so cool. So, I got an email on Friday from one of the development managers from, he's part of the community of the Tanaha in Cranbrook, but he's doing, he's a development manager for them. And his boss went to the Clean Energy Conference January 2024 in Vancouver last week, which I didn't even know was going on. And apparently somebody talked about Metal Tech Alley and the battery in one of their presentations. I don't even know who. But then his boss told him, you need to figure out what's going on here because he lives in Castledor, even though he works for them. So he contacted me. He was in the office this morning and you will see him at the meeting on the 14th. They are very interested in the battery hub and maybe see how they can contribute to that. And it's always somebody talks to somebody, and I don't even know how all of this comes to fruition, but it's there. The other thing, and it's the same as the other interesting thing that happened is I attended the World Circular Economy Forum virtually. It was hosted in Brussels. And one of the speakers on one of the panels is Brioni, what's her last name? Do you remember, from the International Council of Mining and Minerals? She was at the World Circular Economy Forum last year, and she met somebody from Ottawa there, who's from the Prosperity Institute that I've been working with on the battery hub. And he told her in Amsterdam, you need to go and speak with Jacomine and Metal Tech Alley. So after the conference last year, she contacted me and said, before I go home, can I come there? I said, sure. And then she brought somebody from Google with her. So they came to visit. I took them around. And then this year, when she was at the conference and she was speaking, she talked about lead smelting and everything that we do here. And, you know, I wasn't even there when we were on the stage. Yeah, so, you know, all these opportunities are slowly getting together. I am very positive about this, and I really feel that we can make a difference. And as I said, I think we need to get to a point where we do diversify in industry, where we do not all you know, solely rely on tech, but that we bring in other capital of other markets. And having tech here is great because we already have the support structure to support these businesses. So that's my story, and I am now open for questions.
Okay, thank you so much. A lot of good information on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if any of you have any leads for anybody, just let me know.
So, Councilor Cassidy.
So the research lab, it's UBC could be the funders behind that, and would they open it up here, or why wouldn't they just open up their lab in, say, Kelowna, where they already have a lot of the technical support?
So the plan so far, and that's what I've discussed with them, on, you know, just the Zoom meeting that we had, is, the lab, they want the lab to be here because of Tech, Phoenix, Serba Solutions, all of that is here already. But that is, and the funding of that, no idea. That's what we're gonna discuss on June 14. We're gonna see where is this even going and how is this gonna work. That's why I think maybe if we can have one of the communities there from Cranbrook as part of that, they have access to other funding streams that we don't have access to. The university have access to other funding streams. I don't know that yet. All I know is I want him here.
I wouldn't be surprised as well if UBC Okanagan would like to have some kind of concrete presence in the Kootenays. I mean, they already attract a lot of Kootenay youth to go to university there, and being able to say that they actually have a small satellite research lab within the Kootenays would be another little sort of tick for them and their presence in the southern interior, I think.
Thank you.
Councilor Hanson.
As well as that, is Selkirk been invited to the table to see how that's gonna collaborate?
Yeah.
And what about, has any of this kind of stuff came forward with, Ministry of Environment as well, or, advanced, future skills training ministries?
So what we've discussed with the business manager of UBC is We're gonna get together, on the 14th. We do have people from the province and they have contacts with the federal government that they can bring in. But we need to get a baseline of what we want and how we want it first before we're gonna contact them. But I know from experience traveling with this and talking about this, the province is already on board. But we need to have something to take with him. And Selkirk is involved. They will be at the meeting. I'm actually taking the people from UBC to a tour of staff in the morning before our lunch day.
Okay, and then how would this then work and coincide with the, I mean, I would assume it would be kind of a perfect synergy, but with Tech's feasibility study for the electric vehicle. Which
That
I
is-
know that they're working on.
It's,
'Cause
yes.
that's been huge. I've been seeing them talking about that all over the place.
Yeah. And we know that there are, you know, for advance, Dalton was in Ottawa the other day for that. So all of that is gonna work together. Tech will also be at the table next week on Friday.
Wonderful.
Councillor Benson?
Just a question, when you're talking about the niche manufacturing, and like a smaller one, like they have in Seattle, could be duplicated here. What does small mean? When you're talking about like, is it like compared to, I don't know how many a Volkswagen factory would produce versus a small niche one?
It depends on our capacity here, so I cannot tell you.
Okay.
What I can tell you, it will not be $13 billion like they're building in Ontario, because I do not think we have the resources there. But if I look at the recycling facility that Tech wants to put up there, and I think about easily $1 billion, you know, and then I think about a battery manufacturing, I think a facility probably the size of the IPC building by the airport, and probably, it's gonna be probably a $1 billion investment. So that's what I'm talking
Okay.
about. I'm not, yeah, and, yeah.
I would imagine as well that, you know, based on the businesses that are already here and successful, a new business could aim for that kind of 50 to 100 employee kind of range, and probably not to start, right? Like it
Yeah.
will take time for such a business to become established and work up to those employee numbers, but there isn't a lot of room in our small economic region to host like another Tech, right? So it's gonna probably be comparable to the scale of other medium-sized businesses around here.
Thank you. Good presentation.
Councillor.
Thank you. Just looking at the SWOT analysis and the weaknesses of the mountainous region border crossing and the proximity to the US border. Do you think this could work hand in hand with the low-level crossing that everybody's talking about? Like, this would really, the
Yes,
two of them
that's-
would work pretty darn good together. I'm just asking your thoughts on that.
Yeah, and that's what we had in mind, and if you look at the next steps that Rebecca wants to do, the economic forecasting,
Mhm.
I think that's gonna play in that. And we decided from the beginning, we're gonna use this as a motivation
Okay.
for that. Yeah, because it will perfectly work out. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that definitely the more business drivers that we hear and have here, and the more connections that they have to US markets, and again, like the consumer base for batteries is going to be mainly in the US. That will drive more commercial traffic, and we will have to make ready for greater volumes to move into this region.
So
Absolutely.
that's one of the reasons why we want to do the economic forecasting, so that we can go to the federal government and say, this is our economic forecasting for what can happen. What you have here is not gonna work.
Mhm.
And that's the thing, we need to go with them, to them with some kind of business plan, otherwise they're not even gonna listen. So that's.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Not seeing any. Thank you very much for your presentation today. It's very easy to follow and easy to understand, and I appreciate that. Yeah.
Be ready.
Yeah.
Tia Hansen, how's it?
I'm working on it.
It's exciting me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a
Good
lot.
afternoon. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is item number 3, and it's a resolution to adjourn the Governance and Operations Committee portion of the meeting and immediately resolve into in-camera meeting. And the recommendation before you is that pursuant to section 90 of the community charter, the public be excluded from the meeting as the subject matter being considered relates to the following: the community charter, section 91E, the community charter, section 91G, and the community charter, section 90L, 1L. Someone make that motion, please. Counselor Hanson, Counselor Butler, all those in favor? Thank you, carried unanimously.